Popular history imagines the medieval battlefield as a series of heroic duels in wide-open fields. The reality was a visceral, claustrophobic nightmare, a wall of iron and shattering wood, where the sheer physical weight of the enemy was often lethal. For centuries, the Roman Empire managed this terror through the professional legion, a highly disciplined machine. But when the empire collapsed in the West, that professional military infrastructure vanished. This left medieval leaders in a desperate position. Without Roman paychecks or imperial discipline to enforce order, they had no clear way to stop a terrified peasant or an independent noble from simply turning and running when the lines clashed. To replace the lost discipline, kings and popes had to construct an invisible psychological machine, a network of immersive messaging designed to manufacture a collective willingness to die. This effort began with the Church, which held a total monopoly over medieval thought. Pope Gregory I recognized that for an illiterate population, statues and stained glass weren't just decorations. They were a visual library, used to transmit complex religious duties to the masses. By the 11th century, this influence was channeled directly into warfare. To launch the First Crusade, Pope Urban II utilized fabricated atrocity stories, describing the graphic torture of pilgrims and the desecration of altars to incite a wave of religious fury across Europe. The Church then introduced a powerful legal incentive, the plenary indulgence. This decree spiritually transformed a violent expedition into an armed pilgrimage, promising that any soldier who died in combat would receive an immediate remission of all sins. By framing the battlefield as a site of spiritual purification, the Church leveraged a soldier's fear of the afterlife against their fear of death. The immediate risk of the sword was suddenly eclipsed by the terrifying eternal weight of the Last Judgment. While the Church targeted the soul, secular traditions targeted the ego. These codes were rooted in ancient Germanic tribal customs, where surviving a battle in which your chief had fallen resulted in a lifetime of public infamy and shame. By the late Middle Ages, this tribal loyalty had evolved into a formalized social performance. Tournaments and elite brotherhoods were created to simulate war, binding the aristocracy together through shared rituals and inescapable social contracts. Popular literature, like the Song of Roland, reinforced these bonds. These stories provided heroic role models who chose certain death over the vile reproach of retreat, effectively equating military withdrawal with total social excommunication. This evolved into a sophisticated social trap. For a knight, the prospect of dying in a ditch was often less terrifying than the prospect of returning home to a family stripped of its honor and economic standing. Behind the talk of holy crusades and noble chivalry, however, sat a much grimmer reality. Medieval warfare was an incredibly lucrative industry. Plunder, ransoms, and seized land were the primary ways for a knight to secure his family's future. Commanders explicitly used the promise of wealth to keep men in the fight. At Agincourt, the gold fever of capturing a wealthy French duke was a more immediate motivator for the common soldier than any abstract concept of national glory. The success of this propaganda lay in its ability to take raw, opportunistic greed and present it as God's reward for a soldier's service to the crown. This environment changed with the arrival of gunpowder. Artillery disrupted the entire psychological framework of the period. A cannonball could strike from a distance, ignoring the formation and the personal bravery of the men within it. The gun made death random and distant. It rendered a lifetime of chivalric training and the protection of holy relics irrelevant, as a base-born gunner could now kill a king from half a mile away. While armor changed, the need to control the narrative remained. The Bayeux Tapestry is early evidence, a massive visual record documenting Norman dominance. Displayed in public spaces, it was an occupational tool to convince the defeated Anglo-Saxons the conquest was inevitable and legitimate. The Middle Ages show that the physical power of the soldier is only as reliable as the stories told to keep him on the field. In the end, the most effective weapon isn't the sword, but the narrative that justifies its use.